Let's turn to 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1. There are many things that you can say and preach about prayer. It's such a vast subject. There are a lot of things that you can say. We can learn about prayer. Prayer never exhausts. Now this is one simple verse that we find in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. And then Ephesians chapter 6, verse 8. These are the two verses that I have to say to learn something about prayer this morning. Now, Paul writes to Timothy, I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions and thanksgiving be made for everyone, for kings and all those who are in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. Now, he talks about the richness of prayer. We also see in Ephesians chapter 6, if somebody could read,
pray in the Spirit in all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints.
And pray in spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. One thing we notice here is, we say prayer, but in the Bible, Paul says that there are different kinds of prayers and requests. Prayer is not just one. There are different kinds of prayers. And that's one thing that we saw just now. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1, Paul lists at least 4 types of prayers. In Ephesians chapter 6, 18, he said, pray with all sort of prayers. There are different types of prayers. And then he goes on to, in chapter 2 of 1 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 1, he says, he mentioned about 4 types of prayers. There are different types of prayers. Now, what he says, I'm coming back to that variety of prayers. With this in mind, remembering that there are different types of prayers, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Now, what is prayer? Prayer is sort of when we say prayer, we have a sense of a very formal sense. You know, prayers are formal. That is, we sit down in a place, we kneel down or we prostrate or lift our hands up. We need a specific place, we need a specific time, we need a specific format and all that. But Paul talks about prayer as a reflex. Prayer as a reflex. That's how I will summarize this. What's a reflex? A reflex is a medical term. A reflex is, a simple reflex is when somebody tries to poke in your eye, you close your eye. It's a reflex. See, it's an automatic response the body has. For example, when you put a 3-month-old child, you put your finger in that child's hand, the child will close the finger. At 3 to 4 months, 5 months time, the child is supposed to close. That's a reflex. That's an indication that the child is growing. And how tight is that grip shows how healthy is the child. It's a reflex. The best reflex is, when something is coming towards you, you turn your head or close your eye, blink, and that's a reflex. The reflex, nobody need to teach you a reflex. It's an automatic response of the body to an external situation. Similarly, when Paul says, Paul is a Jew, and the Jews had some rules about prayer. Nowadays, modern Jews have a funny situation. Prayers are always silent in the synagogue. You come to the synagogue, you pray facing Jerusalem, like Muslims face Makkah, and then when your prayers are over, you take 3 steps back. That means that your prayer is over, and then you can go away. And that is what some sects of the modern Jews do. As a joke. Israel is such a narrow country. It's such a small country. And see, only I think, 20 kilometers, then you are into Palestinian territory. Some places they are very close. And Jordan is just very close by. It's such a small country. You can say it's a big town, you can say. So now once a Jew asked a rabbi, and it's all enemies around, okay? Palestinians, Jordanians, and Lebanese, and Syrians, and Egyptians. It's all surrounded by enemies. So a Jew asked a rabbi why we should take 3 steps. Why can't it be 4 or 5 steps when we go back after our prayer? The rabbi said, no, only 3 steps. If you take 4th step, you will be in enemy territory. That's his joke. So, prayer, so as a Jew, they have a formal place, a formal time, a fixed time, a formal way of praying. But when Paul became a Christian, someone who follows Christ Jesus, his formality has given away to informality. So he says, pray in the Spirit, not even by words. Pray in the Spirit. I will have a sermon on it later on, in the Spirit. And pray in the Spirit simply means here, pray as the Spirit guides, not as the book tells you. See, the book says this way. Pray in the Spirit is follow the guidance of the Spirit in your prayer. And when pray on all occasions or on all situations, with all kinds of prayers. Doesn't need to be one type of prayer. There are different types of prayer. And with this in mind, knowing this is the rule of your spirituality, be alert. Be alert. You know what is alertness? See? Being alert, being conscious. Very sensitive to the situations around. And keep on praying for all God's people. So prayer is a reflex, means there is a particular situation. And immediately that situation, then you don't think, what should I pray? An external danger or a situation or something that happens around you. And the immediate response should be prayer. That is why we say prayer is a reflex. Let me tell you, I learned this in a very hard way. I was traveling with my family. Vishal was small, my daughter was very small. We are moving our residence from Bangalore to Kerala. And before we could get out, and I can take my baggage out, the train left. Because I had to, some people were hanging on the rail, because the train stopped for a very minutes or something. And I had to say the people who are getting into the train, but if I drag my bag out, those who are trying to get it, when the moving train, they will fall. So I left my bag in. Now what to do? The train is gone. I ran to the railway station. The station master, I told him my baggage is in the train. I couldn't get the baggage out. So he said, okay, sit down. And then I said, okay, this thing, I asked what right. I signaled to the guard. Nobody might give any attention. And I said desperately at the station master's chair outside the station master. And I thought, is there something that I should do? I've done everything. I alerted the guard. I tried to pull out. I asked them to pull the chain. I asked the guard when the guard's van was passing by. And I went to the station master. I told him and all that. This is something that I haven't done. That I have left out. I was just thinking. And suddenly it came to occur to me. Yes, one thing is left out. You know what is that? I didn't pray. I did everything, but I didn't pray. But that is when prayer is an afterthought. When prayer is an afterthought. But prayer is not an afterthought. Prayer is not something that we do when everything has failed. Prayer is something that we do as a reflex to a situation. Like somebody trying to poke in your eye, you move your head, or now I prayed and I looked into his room again, and he called me and he said, don't worry, your baggage is safe. It is collected by the time we just reach another station. He said that in the next station, the station master is keeping your baggage, go there and collect it. That's fine. So, I learned a lesson that day that prayer should be not an afterthought. Prayer should be a reflex to the external situations.